From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay, a growing GDP is fueling the president's economic agenda.
If economic growth continues at this pace, the United States economy will double in size more than 10 years faster.
But could the trade war impede growth in the months ahead? As farmers in Illinois reveal a bin-busting corn crop.
Actually, we was out in the cornfield today, and I think right now it's as good as it was last year.
It's farmers in Missouri and Colorado whose hopes are fading as rains remain absent in their fields. In agribusiness, July weather fueled the market this year, exploring the uncharted waters of the corn market. And one major beer company says it's farmers and one crop that's the backbone of their business.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good Monday morning. I'm Tyne Morgan in for Clinton Griffiths. New numbers show the economy grew 4.1% in the second quarter, the fastest pace in 4 years. But now some analysts question if the strong growth will lose steam. The report from the Commerce Department out Friday shows the nation's gross domestic product increased at a rate of 4.1% from April through June. The boost was from a big rebound in spending by Americans and a sharp rise in exports. But some say the boost may be from increased exports and buying interest ahead of Trump's tariffs. The president wasting no time in touting the numbers, talking to press on the White House lawn.
If economic growth continues at this pace, the United States economy will double in size more than 10 years faster than it would have under either President Bush or President Obama. Perhaps one of the biggest wins in the report, and it is indeed a big one, is that the trade deficit, very dear to my heart because we've been ripped off by the world, has dropped by more than $50 billion.
Now, Joe Vaclavic says as analysts analyze the numbers, questioning if the strong growth can continue, he says really the answer is complicated.
Now, there has been some discussion regarding tariffs and the impact on GDP. You know, some people believe that because of forthcoming tariffs that some countries have rushed to import goods from the U.S. ahead of tariff implementation. There may be some truth to that, but there were also some positive aspects on the domestic front. You know, business spending, consumer spending are both up. So everything really looks pretty good. The president commented that we are on track for the best year of growth since, I believe, in 13 years.
Vaclavic says the numbers don't provide much fuel to the ag commodity markets. He says the markets really need more positive trade news. As exports to China wane, China says it will fight back against every tariff the U.S. puts into place. That's as China's purchases of U.S. soybeans are at the lowest level in more than a decade, instead sourcing more Brazilian beans. Bolt Marketing says China's purchased 78% of Brazil's soybean exports so far this year. That's as China's purchases of U.S. soybeans are at the lowest level in more than a decade. As mentioned, China's going to Brazil for more goods. Now, according to Bloomberg, the Chinese government saying this week it's ready to respond to the tariffs from the U.S., whether it comes in the form of $16 billion or $200 billion. Chinese officials also saying both sides have no contact about renewing trade talks. We'll get an updated look at crop conditions later today, but as of last Monday, USDA called 72% of the nation's corn crop good to excellent. That's 10 points better than last year. But when you get boots on the ground, it's really a mixed bag of crop conditions this year.
Well, that's a hail damage.
It's been a rough ride for farmers like Michael Cox.
We're in probably about 9 leaf stage.
From hail to heat to dryness, he says it's a southern Illinois corn crop that will come in short of last year.
A lot of the bases have holes in them and the stalks are falling down, so we probably already have 25% of the corn on the ground.
But if rain comes soon, his beans may be bountiful.
The later season beans are looking good, but they still need some timely rain to finish them on out. But as a whole, the bean crop looks better than the corn crop does.
But where the rains have hit,
I think we're going to have a good crop, very good crop, and I just hope maybe we can get a decent price out of it.
Wade Allard farms 60 miles west of Cox, and rains have been steadier this year.
Actually, we was out in the cornfield today, and I think right now it's as good as it was last year. And we're thinking if another rain or two, it could be a little bit better.
Last year, he says the average yield was 177 bushels per acre, one of the best yields he's ever seen. And he says beans have the potential to hit a new record too, pending more timely rains. But it's that rain in short supply in Missouri. The latest drought monitor shows extreme drought creeping into Lafayette County, Missouri, with extreme conditions now covering nearly 16% of the state. And it's Lafayette County farmer Roger McFadden forced to bale his corn crop this year. The hay crop is extremely short, and with depleting outlooks for drought-stricken corn in the area, he's doing what he can to find enough feed for his cattle this winter. It's also drought plaguing Colorado this year. 10% of the state's seeing the most severe conditions, and 40% is facing extreme drought. But it's these area farmers used to the challenges of Mother Nature.
We've got pretty much a set rotation that we do, and depending a lot on the water. Some years we're short on water, as we are this year.
It's water that's waning as extreme dryness grows, and it's water that's Hergert's biggest challenge year after year.
We have had a challenge. We've had a lot of 90-degree days, and we haven't had much help from Mother Nature, not much rain. And the water that we do have is runoff from the mountains.
Snowpack was sparse, and growing municipalities are fighting for valuable water. That means his available water has declined 30% in recent years, only adding to the pain.
We're probably 8 to 10 inches behind, and we don't get much moisture anyway.
As area farmers come to grips with the reality today, they're hopeful the better than expected yield story plays out again this fall. Well, Iowans are still cleaning up after the damage after a handful of tornadoes swept through the central part of the state just over a week ago. Take a look at this. One of the tornadoes touched down and swept through a cornfield in Bondurant. The farmer estimating the twister tore through 40 of his acres. He expects $25,000 worth of damage.
It's about a mile-long strip of damage. I would say it's averaging about 200 feet wide. Almost complete destruction. I don't think we'll be able to save any of the corn that got knocked down. A lot of it's broken off and won't be any good for harvest.
Now, believe it or not, Newby says that this isn't the worst damage he's had in his field. He says he's had 80-mile-per-hour straight-line winds create damage in the past. Well, Mike Hoffman joins us this Monday morning for a look at crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Tyne. Let's start off in Leonard, Missouri. Sean McEwen showing us the hardships farmers in the Show Me State are going through this year. He says the area has been extremely dry. Maturity and planting date has been a big factor on what isn't pollinating. Moving over to Willamette Valley in Oregon, Shelley Boschert Davis sending us her view of grass seed harvest from inside the truck. The U.S. Drought Monitor says 94% of the state is abnormally dry now. More than half is considered in a severe drought. And taking a look at the drought monitor, you can see that. We talked about two areas, northern Missouri right there under an extreme drought, and most of Oregon under a severe drought. You can see a lot of the southern plains, but especially the southwest, still in the worst shape. We'll talk more about your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
Still to come, tackling the uncharted waters of trade uncertainty and how it's impacting commodity markets today. Plus, the art and science of turning barley into beer. We'll head in the country to Idaho later on Ag Day. In agribusiness, it was another mixed day on the floor of the CME on Friday. Let's head to the floor for more details.
Today, beans were rising. The market really started to move up in a counter trend, and it really was gaining some strength. The market was up almost 10 cents today, even though because we've had that wild movement over the last couple of days, and it's been up and down, giving us some volatility, but some real possibility that we're comfortably off the ground. Today, wheat was a little bit easier, down almost 9 cents. We've gotten back to 50% retracement of the explosive rally that we had just a couple days ago. That's pretty common. That's kind of like a technical correction. I think it's just taking a little bit of a breather. Some traders taking their money off the table, but we're really going to watch that closely. Cattle was mixed today. It seems that there has been a little bit higher cash market, and I think that we really got a little bit of a pop there. Yesterday's dramatic sell-off resulted in a sharp drop in the beef export sales, 65% from last week, and you know, some of the short covering helped to shore it up a little bit. The market did not finish on its complete low yesterday, so that gives us a little bit of relief that the market isn't going to completely plunge. That's all from the floor at the CME Group here in Chicago. I'm Virginia McGathy.
Here now with Bob Utterback of Utterback Marketing. Bob, when you look at this trade situation going on today, we're really in uncharted waters. But the frustration I hear from a lot of producers is we thought we would see a summer weather scare when it comes to corn, and we really didn't. So what's your advice now for those holding on to old crop corn?
Well, the weather scare is we had good weather, not bad weather. And so looking forward, yes, we still have time to have some problems. But I would say most of the bearishness is now going to factor in here by the August, September time period. And the low will come in. And I would be for feed buying. I would be getting very highly motivated in the August, September time period, buying for the long term. If you have to sell and dump your inventory here because of basis and space, I would be looking for reownership and in the money call. But put yourself in positions that you can wait clear to next May, June, July for the recovery in prices. Don't expect this thing is going to knee-jerk reaction back. As some people say, yeah, we're one tweet away from a dollar rally and being resolved, but I frankly feel the China thing is in for the long pull. I'm hopeful that the NAFTA situation can get resolved, and that'll help corn. But we gotta eat through this supply, and it's going to take time.
So you're saying we may have to hold tight for another year before we could see
yes.
higher corn prices.
But remember, D19 corn is at $3.95. This year's high was $4.25. At $4.25 with $3.50 cost, that's 75 cents a bushel over cost. That's about $125 an acre profit. I think you got to sell $4.25 to $4.50 corn. Now, if that happens early, how are you going to be able to take, and when I say early, April, January, anytime before early July is an early sell, how are you going to put yourself in a position to take advantage of it? Because I guarantee you, somebody's going to be talking about weather scare event, the dry weather in the west moving into the east, and all kinds of reasons, and highly motivate people to store, and they'll get caught in the same trap where we're at right now.
Yeah.
No weather event, big inventories, and they got
low prices.
Low prices and wide bases. The ultimate problem.
All right, Bob Utterback, thank you so much for joining us. Stay with us. We'll take a quick we'll take a quick break, and then we'll have a check of weather here on Ag Day.
To talk with Bob one-on-one, call Utterback Marketing Services, toll free at 800-832-1488.
Welcome back to Ag Day on this Monday. Well, taking a look at the rain. We heard of some flooding in Pennsylvania, and it's showing up on that map. The East Coast just got pounded with moisture.
Yeah, this is radar estimates from a previous Saturday to this past Friday, so about a week-long period. And as you can see, some decent moisture from northeastern portions of New Mexico all the way into eastern Colorado, western Kansas. Kind of hit and miss, though, back through the Four Corner region and a little bit lesser amounts farther north. But it really was along the East Coast where the majority of the rain fell from a week ago Saturday to this past Friday. Lots of north central Florida had in 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. Then you go up the shoreline, eastern portions of North Carolina, and then especially Maryland on into east central sections of Pennsylvania. Very heavy rain. Some areas ending up with over 8, 9, 10 inches of rain. Now, this is some bad data up here from the radar sites, so I don't believe that. But it does look like if you continue those yellow streaks along, you probably ended up with 1 to 2 inches in that part of New England. Take a look at the jet stream as we head into this week. You can see another trough kind of digging in and sitting there over the central Mississippi Valley, and that's going to be producing some areas of showers and thunderstorms, as I'll show you. That trough takes a little while to get going. Now, at this point, our model is actually showing a ridge building back temporarily into the northeast, and then the trough digs back in to the central portions of the country by next week. So, temperatures this week, I am going above normal in the northeast, going above normal from Utah through California, and then a big swath of below normal through the middle of the country, all the way from the Gulf Coast to the Canadian border. As far as precipitation this coming week, we're going to go above normal with that slow-moving system moving through the central Mississippi Valley. This could be some good news for some of those dry areas of the Central Plains, especially Missouri. We're hopeful anyway that you folks get some rain. Sometimes when you're in a drought, though, the dry ground kind of keeps new stuff from developing and keeps you dry. So we'll watch that. But basically Oklahoma, Kansas, all the way to the northeast and the eastern seaboard expected to be above normal. Northern Plains through California below. August temperatures above normal. Northern Plains, Great Lakes above normal. Then southern portions of the country and along the east coast, same thing along the west coast. We'll go to September temperatures near normal for most of the Corn Belt, above normal east coast, Gulf Coast, northwest. And there's that below normal for October into the middle of the country. A lot of the edges above normal. Precipitation-wise then below normal for the southern plains, unfortunately, and then above normal Four Corner region and also the Tennessee Valley and the southeast. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First off, for Spokane, Washington, sunshine becoming very hot today. High of 100 degrees. Enid, Oklahoma, not very hot. Mostly cloudy, shower or thunderstorm likely, high of just 81. And Portsmouth, Ohio, variably cloudy, maybe a storm, high 85.
Thanks so much. Still to come, Machinery Pete has his pulse on what's been a hot item on the auction markets. It's our Mondays with Machinery Pete. Plus, why farmers are the backbone of a major brewer. We're in the country to Idaho. Later on Ag Day. Machinery Pete just got back from an auction in the Western Corn Belt. He's sharing the hot buys with us this morning. Greg?
Well, I'm starting to see more evening farm auctions, folks. This trend started out east, out in Pennsylvania. I would see more auctions in the evening, but lately it's been coming to the Midwest. And I saw a very nice auction last Wednesday evening in east central South Dakota, sale by Chuck Sutton, auctioneer and land broker. Now, a couple really strong items on this sale, led by this 1992 Case IH 1660 combine. 3,577 engine hours on it, so for $28,000. That's the highest auction price I've seen on a 1666 in over 4 years. Now, the average auction price on the last 10 of them sold, that number comes in at $19,220. So 46% premium here, up at $28,000. Now, another strong item on the sale Wednesday was this tractor, 1979 John Deere 8440 four-wheel drive. 6,165 hours shown on it, so for $19,000. Now, the average auction price on the last 40 8440 sold equals $10,319, so 84% premium there. But of course, a big piece of that was the rubber. You can see very nice condition on this tractor. And one other item on the sale last Wednesday was this Case 1840 skid steer, 2,500 hours. Now, we've talked a lot recently about how older skid steers, good condition, have been very hot. Well, continuation of the trend here Wednesday in South Dakota, this 1840 wound up selling for $10,500. And the average auction price on the last 42 sold is $8,189.
Thanks, Greg. It's a popular beer that's sold in cases each year. In fact, Americans purchase about 269 million cases of it annually. We'll take you behind the scenes.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota's full line of field-proven hay tools. Explore the full lineup at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Well, there are a multitude of crops used to make beer: wheat, rye, sorghum, rice, but it's barley that tends to be the preferred grain for brewers. This year, 81% of the crop is rated good to excellent, a 4-point drop in a week. And in Idaho, the crop looks good. Todd Gleason shows us the science into making one popular beer.
For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason. Hey, you might think of Anheuser-Busch as a beverage company producing great American beers like Budweiser. However, it's a highly integrated agricultural company. AB InBev develops and tests its own barley varieties. Josh Butler is the senior manager for global barley breeding. During this year's Growers Day, he explained to the farmers who raise barley for Anheuser-Busch that his group has 3 main customers. There's the maltster, beers made from malted barley. The brewer, the malt needs to be consistent in its enzyme and protein makeup. And most importantly, he says, the farmer.
So really, ultimately, the first goal is yield. Yield and standability and other agronomics that are beneficial to a grower.
Breeding new, high-yielding barley varieties farmers will grow that also meet the needs of the other 2 customers, the maltster and the brewer, is a pretty difficult task.
When you combine it with the other aspects, the other customers we're trying to make happy, it can be difficult because of the unique specs of Budweiser and what we're looking for in the enzyme package and so on. It is more complex than breeding for an for some of the craft type beers. So it's a very unique set of specs. So when you combine that with the traits that we're looking for agronomically, it can get relatively complex.
A complexity Anheuser-Busch, the agricultural company, works to manage for the benefit of its barley growers, maltsters, and brewers. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
Now, Gleason says about 600 farmers provide the barley for 98% of Budweiser sold in the United States. And there's also about 400 rice producers. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're so glad you tuned in. For Mike Hoffman and all of us at AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan. Have a great week in Farm Country.